Hi, I'm Stuart. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you watched any of my previous videos, welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time watching any of my videos, this video I'm going to give my reading wrap up for the week of November 17th through November 23rd. This is going to be a kind of short video. Frankly, I'm a little irritated right now. I recorded the segments for this yesterday. There was no sound. I don't know why. But there is sound today, so I'm not going to talk too long about the books. I'm sorry about that. When technology fails me, I just refuse to repeat things. And at the end, I'll have a little rant if you'd like to stay for that. This week I completed one book, so I'll very briefly talk about that one book. I read parts of 3 books, so I'll briefly talk about those 3 books. I'll talk about a Wobble I completed and what I'm working on, and I will talk about other events going on in my life, and like I said, a little rant toward the end. The book I completed was All Hallows by Christopher Golden, with Ron Butler narrator and January Lavoy narrator. As you can tell by the title, it's an audiobook. This book is set in the 1980s in a Massachusetts town, in a neighborhood, on Halloween Eve, as you can tell by the title. Told multiple POVs. There's kind of a dark underbelly in this town. It would do Stephen King novels proud, getting to the seamy side of a town. In addition to the horror elements, there's that to read. The narrators do a great job. The chapters are told with the POV, a third-person POV of one of the characters. When it's a male character, the male narrator reads the chapter. When it's a female character, the female narrator reads the chapter. In the chapters read by the male narrator, he reads both men and boys and women and girls. And in the chapters read by the female narrator, she reads both women and girls and men and boys, and they do a great job of it. They mostly do a great job. There's a few spots that it was kind of like, okay, it didn't quite work for me, but they did a great job. There is some things I want to warn people about. There is infidelity, there is domestic abuse, there is homophobia, there is racism. There is some rather repellent characters. There is one character who says some very inappropriate stuff to a very racist stuff, inappropriate stuff to a 17-year-old. And there is some deaths there, and including children. They're quite graphically described, so those might be things I might warn you about. I haven't rated the book in Storygraph yet, but it's going to be a 4.5 to a 5 star. It's really good audiobook. I really liked it. The first of the 3 books that I read part of this week is The Complete Tales of H.P. Lovecraft by H.P. Lovecraft. I'm getting to the tales that more are what I love about Lovecraft. Characters are they're always men. They delve into things they shouldn't, and that ends up costing them dearly. Sometimes their lives, sometimes their sanity, and there's different realms and things that I really like. So it is getting to the point that I really like Lovecraft. Stories before that were pretty good, but it wasn't what I remembered of Lovecraft. This is the 4th time I'm reading a lot of the stories, so it's getting to that point. I'm quite enjoying it now. The second book I read part of is The Bookshop, A History of the American Bookstore by Evan Friss. Quite an enjoyable book. It starts from Benjamin Franklin, who, I sad to admit, I didn't realize he was a book publisher, bookseller. I just knew of him. His influence on the formative times of the United States, and flying a kite trying to get lightning to hit it and go to a key in a jar. That's my knowledge of Benjamin Franklin, but it's quite good. I'm actually done with the main part of the book itself, and I'm just reading this stuff in the afterwords. And it does give you a great history of American bookshops. I quite recommend it. Probably going to be around a 4 for me. Good book, but there were some parts where there was so many people and shops, it was a little hard to follow. And the third book I read part of this week is The Night Parade by Ronald Malfi. I'm reading this as part of Fright Club, the book club created and moderated on YouTube by Cliff at Cliff's Dark Gems and Kritz at Kritz_reads. I'm about 43% in the book. I'm quite enjoying it. So far, though, it reads kind of a book that could kind of maybe a pre-apocalyptic or, leading into this as this dystopian world more than a horror novel. But I really like dystopian novels, so it's not so bad. I'm not sure it's going to go all the way there, but there's certainly very bad things going on in society. I watched a recent video by Nicole at Nicole's Bookish Nook. She had, I believe it was 6 suggestions for people who want to read more. And those suggestions were interesting. And in the video, she suggested a Netflix documentary called, I think, The Social Problem. And I watched it. It was quite sobering. It was basically, it explained, at least believable to me, why, say, the U.S. and the world is where they are now. It made a lot of sense. And I recommend it. It's kind of scary, but I recommend it. I'm sure there were other people who would have opposite beliefs, but it explained to me very well why we are where we are in the world today. And really nobody's fault. At first, things just kind of went where they went, and that's where we are. The main thrust of the story is social media, how it became what it became. And to the point now it's kind of maybe, I won't say out of control, but maybe getting there, so recommend that. I watched another video which I found quite interesting called The BookTube Watching Tag by Cliff's Dark Gems, and talks about what it's like to be in a booktuber and how you have to try to balance that with other aspects in your life. One thing I liked about it, he talked about some is something I struggle with, and that's basically how you watch the videos you like to watch to support people. You have to take time to create your videos, record them and edit them, but you also have to try to figure out how to watch all the videos you want to watch. The only other booktuber I remember talking about this was Sui at Sui's Book Banter, one of her videos. And the reason these videos resonate with me is that's something I'm kind of struggling with right now myself. I tend to keep subscribing to people, and I'm at the point it's just difficult to, even if only the people that I like to talk on their channels or they talk on my channels, whatever, even those it's really hard for me to keep up. I don't really know what the answer is, but I need to find a better balance than I have right now. So I don't know if I can find Sui's video where she talked about this. This was a while back, but Cliff's video I will put a link in the description. I'll put a link to Nicole's video in the description too. Both those videos are definitely worth watching if you haven't already watched them. Now I'm just going to talk about a Wobble I completed and one I'm working on. Wobble I completed is the Tiny Pumpkin. Small, but it did present some complexity to me. Did have a little problems completing it, but it is complete now. And the one I'm working on is the Tiny Witch Hat, which that's what it's supposed to end up with. And it is a large part done. There's like a few more of these Halloween ones, and I kind of want to complete them at the end of the month, or if not, probably put them aside, because I do have Wobble's Advent box, which I want to get started early in December. Other than the Wobbles, I had my yearly appointment with my ophthalmologist. It went pretty well. I do have cataracts. They are advancing, but they're not to the point where I need operations. My prescription changed a little bit, but not too bad. I will get new glasses soon. But overall, a pretty good prescription. I've reached the point in my life that because of medical issues my past few years of my life, which I've talked about a lot of in previous videos, medical appointments now, there's a certain anxiety and fear to them, which I know many people have their whole lives, but for me, most of my life, those appointments were just kind of a formality. I go in there, I get a clean bill of health and go out, but that's not the case anymore. Other than that, I walked at the local mall. I watched a UConn women's basketball game this past Wednesday. UConn's playing Fairleigh Dickinson. Their head coach, Gino Auriemma, won his record-setting, I think it's 1,217th game, which is the most wins in college basketball, men or women. He broke the record, which was previously held by Tara Vanderveer of Stanford and a couple of other schools who retired after last season. And after the game, they had an interesting ceremony. A bunch of his former players came back. A few of them spoke. It was quite the milestone, and he did it at one school. He's 40 years at that school. He also honored his longtime associate head coach, Chris Daly, who's been with him all that time. So that was quite a nice thing to see. Now, just a little rant. It's nothing to do with books. It's just about technology. There's an old expression, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. But with technology these days, computers, phones, whatever, that's exactly what happens. You do the same thing, you get a different result. I have no idea why none of the videos I recorded yesterday had sound, because I recorded some videos Friday, they had sound. The ones I'm recording now have sound, I checked. I have no idea what I did, what may have happened. One of the issues I have is that it's just too easy in their guise to make things easy to use these days, technology, computers, cameras, whatever. They make it too easy to do something you don't want to do. And just too easy. And that's frankly kind of something I'm kind of getting very irritated about. I know people would say that I'm just some old guy and, I just am not up to date speed on technology or anything. Maybe that's true, but I have an electrical engineering degree, and I spent my whole working career dealing with technology. I spent the better part of 30 years working in a company where I worked with aircraft parts, mostly electronic ones, 25 at writing technical manuals that quite detailed, including their theory of operation and explain how they work, how to repair them. So I have quite the long history with technology, and it's just, stuff is getting to the point where it's so complex, and it's just, as I said, it's just too easy to, without even realizing it, do something that causes a problem. Like I say, 2 days ago, or actually all the time, I never had a problem with sound before. Yesterday, for some reason, all the videos recorded, it was all of them, at least the ones I looked at, so it was probably all of them, no sound. Today, sound is okay again. Now, I did turn the camera off, turn it on. Of course, when I put it away, I turn it off. But it's just irritating to me. Like I say, some would say I'm just too old, and perhaps I am, but my camera does 20 zillion things, and frankly, I need about 5 of them. I don't need all the other things, and up to this point, it's been fine, but it's just technology in general. I'm better than I used to be. I frankly hate to admit it, but I've broken stuff in the past. Now I'm much better at just putting it aside. I still have the impulse to break it, but don't want to break expensive stuff. Just irritating me. I don't know if people think I'm just, just beyond it, and maybe I am, but it's just a little rant, nothing to do about books, but just I'm kind of miffed that I got to re-record stuff, and what I'm recording today isn't as good as what I recorded yesterday, but when I got to do something the second time, it's not going to be as much. If for some reason I do a nice extensive review on Storygraph, and for some reason it doesn't save, the next time it's not going to be as long because I refuse to do it again. Anyway, that's kind of the end of my rant. Thanks for listening if you got this far. I hope you have a wonderful reading week. I hope you have a wonderful week in general. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, please subscribe, please hit the bell to get notified when I upload future videos.